The Senate will come to order. Please stand as the Honorable James Muffett leads us in prayer and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance immediately after.
All right, thank you, Amy. Welcome all to the senators who are going to debate first and representatives who are going to debate second. We're excited about this. This is not the real House of Representatives, although it might look like it because we got flags back here. But it's exciting, and we're looking forward to hearing the debate that you guys are going to have today. So every time the Senate opens or the House opens in the real world, they always open with prayer. So we're going to do that. And then if you guys can, I guess you need to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance if you're not standing afterwards so that we can do that as well. So let's bow our heads and let's pray. Lord, we thank you for this day, this opportunity that we have to gather even remotely to do this legislative debate. I thank you for all of the senators and the representatives who have put their labor and their thought and their hearts into this effort this week, God. Thank you for them. And thank you, Lord, for this opportunity that we have to work together and to learn together. I pray that as we deliberate these bills, that you would give each senator courage and give them clarity of thought and peace, Lord, that passes understanding. And Lord, I just pray that this whole effort, this whole exercise would be a great learning experience for all of us, Lord. We commit our way to you. In Jesus' name, amen. Please stand or remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm going to turn and face the flag. Can I do that? All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, good. All right, Madam President.
The clerk will give the roll count.
Madam President, there are 28 members present.
Okay, so if in order to pass any amendment or bill, we need 50% of everyone plus one. So 50% of 28 is 14. That means we need 15 people in order for any bill or amendment to pass. Is there a motion on the floor?
Madam Speaker, I move that we take up item number 1 on the calendar.
Madam President.
Madam President, apologies. I move that we take up House Bill 5474, handguns on university campuses.
The clerk will read.
House Bill 5474, a bill to amend 1990 PA 319 entitled An Act to Prohibit Local Units of Government from Imposing Certain Restrictions on the Ownership, Registration, Purchase, Sale, Transfer, Transportation, or Possession of Pistols or other firearms. The people of the state of Michigan enact.
The sponsors of the bill may now present opening arguments. We'll hear from Senator Bose. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. My caucus members and I are here to advocate for House Bill 5474. This bill will allow the right to carry handguns on university campuses. In recent years, there have been many shootings on college campuses, resulting in many deaths and many more injuries that very well may have been stopped if students and staff were allowed to bring firearms into the campus. Another reason to pass this is because public universities receive federal funding. So that means it's our money going into the school. So we should be allowed to protect ourselves. So help save lives by voting yes on House Bill 5474. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. We will now hear opening arguments from the opposing caucus, Senator Foster.
All right, just give me a second. All right, I am Senator Thomas Foster, Madam President, and I am here to defend our bill, which basically allows the unrestriction of the death penalty in Michigan. Never mind, I just realized that I just got the wrong thing. Anyway, I'm here to oppose why firearms in universities are bad. So, Madam President, please forgive if I misword anything because, well, I'm not really the best with speeches. But Anyway, the first reason why is because increased access to firearms is a bad thing. College campuses tend to have more alcohol, drug abuse, and more reckless behavior. That means that if it mixes with access to guns, lots of disastrous things can happen. The bill does not make sure that guns will actually be beneficial in the dorms. If a gun is not stored properly in a secure, safe place, it can more easily be stolen. And that means it could get into the wrong hands and cause big catastrophes. 79% of the students and faculty felt like they were not any more safe with concealed carry guns. Police chiefs and colleges oppose this bill. It also costs a large amount to schools when guns are allowed on campus, because if you have to buy your own gun for self-defense, it's already hard enough for most people just keeping themselves in college because it's expensive. And that is all I have.
Thank you, Senator. We will now hear from the supporting caucus, Senator Henson. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I am here today in support of House Bill number 5474, or handguns on universities. This bill is so important, and today you can make a difference and help to pass this into our Michigan legislature. Most people know that we, as American citizens, have certain rights given to us by the United States Constitution. The Second Amendment gives us the right to bear arms and to defend ourselves, and this bill is upholding that important truth. The current bill already allows guns to be carried in legal areas in the public. This addition simply adds public, state-funded universities to those many places. You might be wondering why someone would even need to carry on a college campus. Yes, there's campus security, but they're not usually armed, and even though attacks happen rarely, when they do, there's almost no one there who can stop them before the damage is done. In 2016, 28,400 violent crimes were reportedly committed on college campuses. Of those 28,400 crimes, 8,900 were forcible sex crimes, and 2,200 were aggravated assaults. These numbers not only show us that we have a problem, but that this could be victims of this type of crime need a way to defend themselves, and this bill is allowing that to happen. Please help us to protect and allow students and employees on university campuses to be able to defend themselves, as is their Second Amendment right. Vote yes on handguns on universities. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. From the opposing caucus, Senator Andrus. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. There is no security in dorms. Let's say that there's somebody who's named Mr. Muffet has a roommate whose name is Bob. Mr. Muffet is a good student who owns a gun. He puts it in his drawer every night before he goes to bed. Because he is smart, he goes to bed at a decent time every night. Although he might be mature, his roommate, Bob, is not. He stays up late. He comes in one night angry. What security measures does this bill have in place to prevent Bob from taking Mr. Muffet's gun and potentially killing or injuring another individual?
Thank you very much, Senator. From the opposing caucus, Senator Keller. You have the floor.
Madam President, I believe that would be Senator Henson for the second.
Thank you very much, Senator. Senator Henson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. If a roommate couldn't live in the house with a gun, we wouldn't need these rules to be enforced in this bill, as they're already addressed in the regular gun laws. They would be the same as if a husband and wife were living in the same house and one of them was prohibited from using or owning one, but the other wishes to exercise their right to bear a weapon and defend themselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Foster, you have the floor. From the opposing caucus.
All right, Madam President, I am Thomas Foster. One second. I am Thomas Foster, here to once again oppose Why Not. And so, the Gun-Free School Zone Act. This is a thing that actually already exists, surprisingly. That was easy to find. You are not allowed to have a gun within 1,000 feet of a K-12 school. While this may not cause problems for all colleges, obviously, some of them may be built right next to a K-12 school. This is conflict. Which law takes priority? Sure, if this law passes, how do we know which law is going to be superior over the other one? There's lots of questions that need to be answered. And that's all from me.
Thank you, Senator. From the supporting caucus, Senator Keller.
Thank you, Madam President. You mentioned that there's a law that prohibits guns within 1,000, was it yards of K-12 buildings that would still be in effect?
Yeah, it was feet.
Senator, please, the floor is given to Senator Keller.
That law would still be in effect. This bill applies all the laws already in effect, allow that the schools have to restrict the illegal use. So if it was within 1,000 feet, they wouldn't be allowed to have the gun there. Now, Article 1, Section 6 of the Michigan Constitution says, every person has the right to keep and bear arms for the defense of himself and the state. We all know the Second Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Not only does the current law violate our state constitution, it also violates the federal constitution under the 14th Amendment. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States. Now you may be wondering, shouldn't colleges be exempt from these laws? Let me ask you this. Did you know that the federal and state governments spend billions every year funding the public universities? That's your money at work. Why should the public universities that you're forced to pay for be allowed to restrict your God-given rights laid out in the Constitution? We have the right to keep and bear arms. We have the right to defend ourselves and others if necessary. And we have the right to carry guns as a deterrent to any who wish to harm our lives or the lives of others. If you stand for the safety of yourself and those around you, if you stand for our freedom as Americans, and if you stand for protecting our God-given rights, vote yes with me on House Bill 5474.
Thank you, Senator. We'll now hear closing arguments from both caucuses. From the opposing caucus, Senator Andrus.
Thank you, Madam President. CBS reported on a study by MoneyWatch on the problem with guns on campus. And the conclusion they found on 16 Michigan universities they studied is that 79% of students say they do not feel safe if other students carry concealed weapons. 66% did not feel like carrying a gun would make them less likely to be troubled by others. That means that 4 out of every 5 of students do not want this bill to pass. That is a very large percentage. The job of the legislature is to represent the people of Michigan, and this bill is not in the will of the people who elected you into office.
Thank you, Senator. From the supporting caucus, Senator Boats.
Thank you, Madam President. This bill, if not passed, will take away our Second Amendment right, our right to keep and bear arms to defend ourselves. So many incidents resulting in death could be avoided if this bill would be passed. As my fellow Senator Henson already stated, in 2016 alone, 28,400 violent crimes were reportedly committed on college campuses. Of those 28,400 crimes, 8,900 were forcible sex crimes, and 2,200 were aggravated assault. Many of these could have been stopped if students and employees were allowed to just carry firearms on campus. So please vote yes on this bill, and let's make public universities a safer place. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Madam Speaker, I move the previous question.
Without objection, the previous question is ordered and the bill is now on third reading. We will vote on the bill on whether to adopt this bill, and you may now indicate how you wish to vote on your screen. You have the option for yes, no, or abstain once it comes up, and then be sure to click the submit button at the bottom of the poll. clerk will give the count.
Madam President, there are 18 yes votes, 10 no votes, and 1 abstention.
The bill receiving a sufficient number of votes is passed. Is there another motion on the floor?
Madam President, I move that we take up item number 2 on the calendar. That is House Bill. I don't have the number of the House Bill at the moment. It's on the death penalty.
HJRH, I believe.
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you very much. The clerk will read.
House Bill HJRH, a joint resolution proposing an amendment to the state constitution of 1963 by amending section 46 of Article 4 to provide for the death penalty in certain circumstances. The people of the state of Michigan enact.
We'll now hear opening arguments from both caucuses. Senator Andrus, followed by Senator Henson. From the supporting caucus, Senator Andrus, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. If someone is to commit first-degree murder, the most that the current Michigan law will allow as punishment is life in prison without the chance of parole. Some of these criminals have murdered people in disgusting ways, and many show no remorse for their terrible actions. The problem is that these criminals have done such horrific murders, they don't deserve the right to live, the right they took from their innocent victims. Since Michigan does not allow the death penalty, these criminals never get the full punishment they deserve. Simply locking them up is not equal punishment for the taking of another human life. Murder of an innocent person is never right and should be punished. Father of capitalism, Adam Smith said, "Mercy to the guilty is cruelty to the innocent." Senate Bill HRJH will allow these criminals who have been found guilty of first-degree murder to be given what they truly deserve, the death penalty. What constitutes first-degree murder? Under the Michigan Penal Code, there are 3 types of first-degree murder, all of which are intentional. Premeditated murder, a felony murder, such as one commits a murder while in the process of committing a felony, such as killing a guard while robbing a bank. Murder of a peace officer, this includes correctional officers. Genesis 9:6 says, "Whosoever sheds the blood of man, by man shall his blood be shed, for God made man in his own image." God said that human life is sacred and taking someone else's should be treated with the serious punishment it demands.
Thank you very much, Senator. From the opposing caucus, Senator Henson.
Thank you, Madam President. This death penalty bill is something that has been proposed in Michigan multiple times since it was first scratched years ago. It was originally gotten rid of for a reason. The death penalty is cruel, unjust, and extremely expensive. The total cost for sentencing someone to the penalty of death, including the injection itself, and all of the legal costs, is about 18 times more than it would cost to simply sentence someone to prison with a life sentence without the possibility of parole. And the stakes are high when you're talking about taking someone's life. Innocent people are found guilty more than they should be to feel okay about adopting the death penalty. Since 1976, 165 innocent people have been exonerated from death row. And although we sadly can't be positive of the number, we know that at least 123 innocent people have been executed under the death penalty. Around the nation, many people have been executed under the death penalty, and so far, we don't have any of these types of horror stories here in Michigan. The only way to really keep that from happening is to vote no on this bill. The death penalty is permanent. You can't sentence someone to death, kill them, and then realize they were innocent and take back your ruling. When it comes to life and death, we can't make mistakes. Life is sacred and needs to be protected. Why would you pick the more expensive option that also comes with the possibility of killing an innocent person? This logic doesn't make any sense. So instead of punishing first-degree murderers with the death sentence, let's give them a life sentence without parole. This is less expensive and doesn't come with the high risk of making a deadly mistake. You can help to protect innocent people by voting no on the death penalty bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Henson. From the supporting caucus, Senator Foster, you have the floor.
All right, Madam President, I am Senator Thomas Foster, here to defend why we should pass this bill. Also, Senator Keller, I am sorry for accidentally, talking during your little speech thing. Anyway, Amendment 1. Juveniles at the time of crime shall not be subject to the penalty of death. This is because juveniles are more capable of rehabilitation and learning from their mistakes. Because, let's be honest, lots of us when we were younger may have made a lot more mistakes than we do now. Other states don't do it, and I think it's just inhumane ending people at such a young age. Anyway, the death penalty will also deter some crime, because the less crime we have going on, the better. That's all for me for now.
Thank you, Senator. From the opposing caucus, Senator Keller.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that we adopt Amendment BF1, which will amend page 1, line 3 after for first-degree murder by adding, furthermore, any animal that murders another animal or human or injures an animal or human to the point of death shall be subject to the penalty of death. You may
Thank
be
you,
thinking
Senator. It shall be noted that Senator Keller has offered Amendment BF1. You may now continue.
You may be thinking that this is ridiculous. However, the idea isn't entirely new. Did you know that under Old Testament law, an ox that gored a man or woman was to be put to death? There was even a law regarding someone's ox killing another person's ox. You want to pass a law that will allow us to end people's lives, but aren't human lives more valuable than animal lives? Humans are special because we are created in the image of God, and nothing, not the worst offense, could ever change that fact.
Thank you, Senator. Does the Liberty Green Caucus have anyone who wishes to speak against this amendment? If so, you may do that now.
Thank you, Madam President. Humans know what this bill is for humans, not for animals. We don't govern animals, we govern people. So the animal government can do that if they wish.
Thank you very much, Senator. We will now vote on Amendment BF1. Please indicate now how you wish to vote on the amendment, which would change the language of the bill to include, furthermore, any animal that murders another animal or human or injures an animal or human to the point of death shall be subject to the penalty of death. The clerk will give the count.
Madam President, there are 9 yes votes, 17 no votes, and 2 abstentions.
The amendment receiving an insufficient number of votes is not passed. We will now hear from the supporting caucus from Senator Andrus. And Senator, if you are able to adjust your lighting so that we can see your face, that would be appreciated.
I don't have that. I'm not there on the thing to speak that I was given by my ADC.
Senator Andrus, do you have anything you would like to say, or Senator Foster, do you have anything you would like to say at this time?
I did have a other thing here, Madam President.
You will be recognized for your speech following Senator Bose. If neither of you wish to speak, we may proceed with Senator Bose.
Okay.
Hearing no further debate, you have the floor, Senator Bose.
Thank you. At about 2 a.m. on May 2nd, 1976, Jeanette Williams was shot to death in her apartment in Newtown neighborhood of Jacksonville, Florida. Her partner, 26-year-old Nina Marshall, was also shot but not killed. The police soon after arrested 30-year-old Clifford Williams, Jr., and his nephew, 18-year-old Hubert Nathan Myers. On weak but substantial evidence, the judge sentenced Williams to the death penalty and life without parole. After several years of detailed investigation, police made a case to exonerate Williams and Myers of all charges. On March 28, 2019, and after 42 years in prison for a crime they did not commit, Myers, now 61, and Williams, now 76, were released. This has been the case for more than 20 men and women. Take a second to think about everything they missed. Williams missed his child, growing up and getting married. Myers missed going to college and having a family. Let's make sure no more tragic incidents like this happen in Michigan. Please help us by voting no on the death penalty. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. From the supporting caucus, Senator Foster.
All right, Madam President. So, following up on the whole death penalty deters crime, the Wall Street Journal actually did a study, and while it may not decrease it by much, it did decrease the crime rate by enough to count. And for every one death penalty sentence, 71 less murders occurred, which I think is actually kind of crazy. That means that 3 death penalties is 222 less murders, which is 1/3 of the murders that happened in 2018, which was 614, which is absolutely nuts. And according to the House Committee of Constitutional Laws and Ethics, quote, "Some crimes are so terrible that the people who committed these crimes must be executed with justice, or if justice is to be done." All of this together is just, I don't even know what to say. So I guess that'll be it for me.
Thank you, Senator. From the opposing caucus, Senator Keller.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to point out that an equal number of studies have found that it does not decrease the chances of future murders. It is not a deterrent in those studies, so the data could be seen as inconclusive. I'd also like to say that some studies have found that as many as 1 in 25 people executed on death row have later found to be innocent. That is not a price we should be willing to pay. The innocent life should never be taken, even if it's to take care of the guilty. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. And we will now hear closing arguments from both caucuses. First, from the opposing caucus, Senator Henson. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I am here still in opposition of the death penalty bill. This bill is not worth the possibility of the slaughter of the innocent. We need to make decisions that will protect the regular people of the public, and this bill does not do that. There are too many things that could go wrong and too many inconsistencies and problems in its logic. We need to keep the horror stories associated with the death penalty out of Michigan. Botched executions aren't uncommon, and innocent people could be killed. So when it's cheaper to simply put possible murderers in prison for life without the possibility of parole, why would we risk that? When people's lives depend on us to make the right call, we need to make the right decision. Justice doesn't need to end in more death. Choose to protect the innocent people and vote no on the death penalty. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. And from the supporting caucus, Senator Andrus.
Thank you, Madam President. I think the true horror story is what these people have done to their victims. So overall, you cannot deny the fact someone who has taken away someone else's life, you cannot put a price on human life, nor should you try. The life of another human is sacred, and the only atonement is the blood of the taker. Not convinced? Well, number 3533 says, "You shall not pollute the land in which you live, for blood pollutes the land, and no atonement can be made for the land for the blood that is shed, except for the blood of the one who shed it." This bill clearly obeys God's command of capital punishment for murder. It's not about how much it costs or even necessarily if it deters crime. It is an obedience to God's command. That is why we need to vote in favor for Senate Bill HRJH. Thank you.
Madam President, I move the previous question.
Without objection, the previous question is ordered and the bill is now on third reading. We will now vote on the passage of the bill. Please indicate your vote on your screen. clerk will give the count.
Madam President, there are 6 yes votes, 21 no votes, and 1 abstention.
The bill receiving an insufficient number of votes is not passed. And before we proceed, that was both of the bills for the Senate. Usually the House and the Senate would be in separate sessions, but because we are doing them together, you all can unmute your mics at this moment and we can recognize the hard work of all of our senators with a applause.
Oh, I'm sorry, Liberty Green. I probably was the downfall of the whole thing because I suck with words, but I tried my best. What counts? I'd also like to thank the opposing caucus
Thank
for
you, Senator.
making such a
Thank
good
you.
bill.
We are still in session.
Don't come in this meeting.
Move that the Senate will stand to recess at the call of the chair.
Without objection, we will take a 5-minute recess. That just means we're going to take a break. You can grab some water, use the bathroom, but be sure to stay logged into this session and then be back in 5 minutes at 1:42. The House will come to order. You may have noticed that in our break, we completely transformed our room from the Senate floor to the House floor, and we'll now proceed to hear from the representatives. Considering the roll count has not changed, we'll ask if there is a motion on the floor.
Madam Speaker, I move that we take up item number 1 on the calendar. That is Senate Bill 291, motorcycle helmets.
The clerk will read.
Senate Bill 291, a bill to amend 1949 PA 300 entitled Michigan Vehicle Code by amending section 658 MCL 257658 as amended by 2002 PA 494. The people of the state of Michigan enact.
The bill is now open for debate, and the sponsors of the bill may present opening arguments. Representative Gallipoli, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My name is Representative Gallipoli of the Adams Blue Caucus, and my caucus and I are in full support of Bill SB 291. The problem is that the current law forces motorists to purchase a helmet. Our statistics show that it is not the safest for the driver and is against their constitutional rights. Our solution to the problem is to make helmet laws optional for motorists that are age 21 or over, with the requirement that they have had to have their license for at least 2 years. Also, they must have insurance. The National Highway and Traffic and Safety Administration, NHTSA, shows the results of a study done by the National Protection Use Survey, showing that of all the motorcycle fatalities, 60% of them wear helmets and 40% of them do not. Data also shows that helmets not only impair vision, but also hearing and even operation of the vehicles as well. Additionally, another statistic from NHTSA shows that motorists can lose up to 21.9% of their lateral view. It is a constitutional freedom for the drivers to have the choice to wear or not to wear a motorcycle helmet. My fellow representatives, voting to affirm SB 291 will give the riders the freedom of choice, safety, and safety of individuals. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. And please make sure to adjust your lighting now for your next speech so that we can see your face. Representative Van Slyke, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My name is Representative Van Slyke, and I am in support of SB 291. The main reason we want this bill to pass, other than freedom of choice, is ultimately safety. NHTSA conducted a study in 1994, and it states, this study found that subjects wearing a typical 3/4 coverage helmet lost about 3% of the horizontal plane. Subjects wearing the 2 most restrictive full coverage helmets lost 7.3% and 21.9% of the lateral plane. With both helmets, the degree of head rotation fell short of fully compensating for the vision restriction. So even if you argue that the driver can simply turn their head, that does not make up for the loss of their peripheral vision. Furthermore, each individual is different, and the current law does not allow each driver to make the safest choice for themselves. This means that a helmet may be tolerable for some people, but for others, the helmet can be too cumbersome or too restricting. This bill would give the driver a choice on which option is safest for them, and in turn will keep the people around them safe. I ask that all present vote yes on SB 291. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Kupchak, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I, Representative James Kupchak, believe that the freedom to wear or not wear a helmet should be
Excuse me, Representative. I apologize for the confusion, but because we switched to the House floor, I'm now Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I, Representative James Kupchak, strongly believe that the freedom to wear or not wear a helmet should be a protected right. The stats show how helmets tend to impair your vision and your hearing based on what helmet you are wearing. Therefore, we firmly trust that it is your freedom of choice to wear or not wear a helmet. Most motorcycle accidents are caused by blind spots created by motorcycle helmets, as Representative Vance told you all. This then resulting in accidents. Representative Gallipoli showed you that the statistics show as to more people die in accidents with helmets on than not. So in conclusion, if you are an American over the age of 21, and if you have owned a license for more than 2 years, then you should be legally and have the full freedom to wear or not wear a helmet, especially when it's proven that helmets aren't all that helpful. Would it be America if you didn't have the freedom to wear or not wear a motorcycle helmet? I urge you all to make the right decision as an American with rights and vote yes for Bill SB 291. Thank you for your time, Madam President or Speaker.
Thank you, Representative. The opposing caucus may now present the opposing arguments. Representative Chow, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm Tina Chow, and my caucus and I are here to oppose Bill 291. Removing mandatory helmets is dangerous. While there are issues with the amount of motorcyclist crashes, the system's flaws can be changed in other ways. Removing helmets, an element of safety altogether, is not the correct solution, and here is why. Today, only 19 states have mandatory helmet laws. According to lobbyist Appling, of the states that removed or used requirements, Florida repealed the mandatory helmet law. And in the next 3 years, there was an 81% increase with 933 motorcyclist deaths. In Kentucky, deaths grew by 50%, and in Louisiana, 100% after the repeal of this law. Why should Michigan follow suit? The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration estimated that in 2017, around 1,872 motorcyclists were saved nationally. In the case that all motorcyclists had worn helmets, an additional 693 lives would still be here today. Repealing mandatory helmets will increase the amount of deaths. There is an estimated 37% effective rate in preventing fatal injuries when wearing a helmet, meaning for 100 motorcyclists who died in crashes without helmets, 37 would have been saved. The fatalities will rise if we allow the repeal of this law. And would their blood not be on our hands? The citizens themselves have been asked, and over 80% preferred mandatory helmet laws for motorcyclists. Vote no for Bill 291. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Scholl, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My team and I would like to vote in opposition of Bill 291. Today, one of the major reasons of head trauma in America is because of insufficient head protection in motorcycle accidents. According to one study, trauma patients with head injury rose 14%, and skull fracture-related injuries rose 38%. Studies have proven that wearing head protection can lower the risk of head injury by 69%. Even if the individual does not die from the crash, they could be the victim of seizures, memory loss, inability to work, the loss of motor skills, and many more medical issues. So please, consider voting against this bill, and remember, those statistics aren't just numbers. They are real people living with real medical issues, and passing this bill will cause more crippling injuries. So please, vote no on Bill 291. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Volinsky, you have the floor. Representative, you are still muted.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I am here with my esteemed colleagues from Caucus Adams Green to oppose Bill 291. There is a substantial amount of negative financial effects on motorcyclists and the public. In past House sessions, insurance business representatives have declared that a motorcycle rider without a helmet is 40% more probable to suffer from fatal head injuries as compared to a rider wearing a helmet. Helmets are 67% effective in averting serious brain injuries, according to the statistics from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For these reasons, insurance costs will rise. The insurance industry believes that the motorcycle riders impose a larger burden on the state's no-fault insurance. Hospital administrators have stated that an unhelmeted motorcyclist is 37% more likely to have higher hospital costs. The law mandating seatbelts attempts to reduce the monetary costs that passing this bill will result in. Please vote against House Bill number 291. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Kupchak, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I am Christian Kupchak, and I'm here to oppose Bill 291. If a motorcycle helmet really impairs your hearing or vision, and this is a big concern of yours, then we can deal with it. There are many different types of helmets that can be used for motorcycles, and many of those will give you a full vision of view, along with easy hearing. I do believe that hearing is most likely the least of our concerns, speaking that all you need to hear is a car horn. Those are plenty loud enough to hear through a tough helmet. Currently, there isn't a standard for motorcycle helmets, and we can put a law in place of that. But I must say, removing motorcycle helmets all in all is simply unwise. We are concerned about the lives of others, and this puts millions at risk. This bill cannot pass, and we will not stand for it. I ask of you all to realize the false testimony of this legislation. Remember to vote no on Bill SB 291. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. The sponsors may now present rebuttal arguments. We will hear from Representative Yao.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I am Representative Ruth Yao in support of the SB 291 bill. Improving the safety of the public and individuals is in our best interest. However, just requiring people to wear helmets does not provide a blanket of protection. From this bill, we seek to take preventative measures before accidents even happen, as it is always better to prevent rather than repair. As stated by our opponents in the committee meeting, currently many motorcyclists rely on government aid to pay for medical bills in the event of a crash, which can use a disproportionate amount of money. However, under this new bill, it specifically states that motorcyclists are required to hold at least $20,000 of medical insurance for themselves and for any riders, which would decrease the strain on taxpayers and allow more funds to better help the public. Furthermore, the new bill does not only require motorcyclists to have an insurance policy, as is already mandated for automobile drivers, it would also require them to hold their license for at least 2 years, as already stated by my colleagues. This would actually help to prevent accidents in the first place. Based on research conducted by MLive, showed that within 6 months of passing the universal helmet laws that are in place right now, 52% of crashes were by cyclists who are not licensed. By requiring motorcyclists to register a license, it would also require them to go through a certain amount of training and education, which would cut the problem at its roots. And as my opponents have already stated, a lot of head traumas come from motorcycle accidents. However, they also fail to mention that more head traumas come from playing high school sports rather than motorcycle injuries. So if it was really in their best interest to protect people from getting head injuries, then they would limit the amount of injuries in school sports. All of the prerequisites in this bill have been carefully considered, such as still protecting our minors by limiting the age to riders over 21. In order to preserve motorcyclists' freedom of choice, as well as preserving public safety, freedom of choice and the safety of the individual, as well as the public, are not mutually exclusive, and Bill SB 291 works to secure both. By having certain requirements, motorcyclists can still exercise their personal right to freedom while keeping the general public safe. Based on all this persuasive testimony and evidence, I urge my esteemed colleagues to pass this indispensable piece of legislation. Remember to vote yes on Bill SB 291. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative.
Madam Speaker, I move the previous question.
Without objection, The previous question is ordered and the bill is now on third reading. We will now vote on the passage of this bill. Please indicate your vote on your screen. The clerk will give the counts.
Madam Speaker, there are 16 yes votes, 11 no votes, and 1 abstention.
The bill receiving a sufficient number of votes is passed.
Madam Speaker, I now move that we take up the next item on the calendar, that is item number 2, titled Cell Phones in Emergencies.
Thank you. All right, will the clerk please read this bill?
House Bill 4006, a bill to require wireless carriers to provide device locations for emergencies upon the request of law enforcement. The people of the state of Michigan enact.
All right, the bill is now open for the debate. The sponsors of the bill may present their opening arguments. The Speaker of the House would like to recognize Representative Simmerer.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm speaking in support of House Bill number 4006, Cell Phones in Emergencies. It is hard for the police to get to the scene of an emergency quickly because they don't have a fast and easy way to locate where it took place. The solution to this problem is to make a law that commands all phone companies to give a phone's location to the police in an emergency. This bill helps the police or any law enforcement officers to get to the scene of an emergency faster, thus saving the police precious time. The police cannot track a person from a phone call, which means they have no way to know where someone is unless the person themselves already knows exactly where they are. In 2007, a young woman, Kelsey Smith, was abducted in a parking lot. The police asked the cell provider to give them her location, but it took them 4 days to release it. Once the police did get her location, her body was located in 1 hour. It usually takes the police 48 hours to get a warrant and then a phone location, but as in this case, it can take much longer. With this bill as law, the police and authorities could get to an emergency, any emergency, such as a car accident, a break-in, abduction, murder, or robbery faster, thus saving lives and stopping crime. Representatives, I urge all of you to vote yes on House Bill number 4006.
Thank you, Representative Simmerer. The Speaker would like to recognize Representative Johnson. You now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I too am in support of Bill HB 4006. With passing this bill, many people struggle with the idea that their privacy is being violated. However, this bill does the exact opposite. Not only does this bill allow police officers to have the location of cell phones in time of emergency without a warrant, it also requires police officers to have a warrant with times of non-emergencies. In other words, this bill only comes in effect when and only when there is a true emergency. In that time, wireless carriers are required to provide only the location of the cell phone and no other information, providing protection from potential lawsuits. The bill also states that law enforcement must have permission from a department supervisor before making requests, and includes the fact that law enforcement will be penalized if information is used for personal gain. Many wireless carriers already work with dispatchers to provide cell phone location in times of emergency, and the benefits are evident. According to WPTV local news, on April 2nd, 2018, 46-year-old Nadar Khalil was pulled out of the water and onto the shore of Palm Beach unresponsive. Many called 911, but by the time EMS showed up, Khalil was already found dead. Like Khalil, many lives have been lost due to the tardiness of the authorities caused by difficulty of finding exact location. This does not eliminate the fact that a cell phone may be inconveniently placed in a location that leads to a dead end. But with the chance of saving someone's life, I urge you to vote for bill number HB 4006. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Johnson. The opposing caucus may now present their opposing arguments. The Speaker of the House would like to recognize Representative Keller. You now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My fellow representatives, do not be deceived by this bill, for House Bill 4006 is a direct violation of our basic freedoms of privacy. And although this bill has good intentions, it can also be easily exploited by corrupt people in and out of law enforcement, such as rogue police officers, sheriffs, or hackers who could infiltrate the system. These people could unnecessarily track you, and this being an invasion of privacy is wrong. And as if this alone isn't enough, it was said by Jeff Hawson, the next step of this would be the collection of data, which is morally wrong and violates our basic rights to privacy. This bill would also be giving the government more power so that there would be greater amount of imbalance between the people and the government. And in the end, this bill must be stopped from being put into practice, for it violates our basic human rights, can be easily exploited, and can lead to data mining. So for these reasons, I say vote no for House Bill 4006.
Thank you, Representative Keller. The Speaker of the House would like to recognize Representative Armstrong. You now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. There are multiple principles that are being violated because of the cell phone data use and emergencies legislation. A primary concern for all of us is the invasion of our individual freedoms. Since law enforcement will be able to get a hold of certain important information, the freedom of privacy is at risk. You have no control over what kind of data they use, regardless of the situation at hand. I feel that freedom of choice is also being violated because this bill sounds as though there isn't an option to opt out of the service provider giving the user's information away. In this day and age, having a cell phone isn't a choice, but more of a necessity, so that disclosure of cell phone data to a company couldn't be truly voluntary. This leads right into the fear for the safety of the public, because what if the user's data is used for malicious intent? What if an innocent bystander is wrongfully accused of a crime while the real culprit gets away scot-free? This legislation releases way too much information at the total discretion of the police without any protections to the user. Once those limitations are lifted, they can never be restrained like they were before. For these reasons, I say vote no for this legislation.
Thank you, Representative Armstrong. The Speaker of the House would like to recognize Representative Timothy. You now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I am speaking in opposition to Bill 4006, Cell Phones in Emergencies. Bill 4006, as lobbyist Jeff Hall has said, is still a dead lead. It only gives the last known location of the phone by longitude-latitude coordinates. To stop nefarious reasons, the officer must go to the cellular company, like Sprint or Verizon, and have to sign off a paper for the coordinates. But this system is easily fallible, as fellow Representative Ben Keller has said. So if the officer gets to the location and the victim is not there, the victim left their phone at home or is being moved by a criminal. Now, not only has the officer wasted time going there, they will have to go all the way back to the company to sign off for the coordinates again if they are being moved, thus wasting more valuable time. Now, God created us to be smart and adaptable people, so these criminals will not be stupid. So what if the criminal disarms the victim of their phone? You would have wasted time getting the coordinates instead of immediately going to the witnesses and looking. Now, criminals could move the phone to create a false lead, and then if the police go to where the criminal has moved the phone, now the officers will be left with little or none evidence. The criminal could also make a trap for the law enforcement by placing the phone in a hazardous place, such as a ditch or an abandoned building that could endanger the police, and we don't want that to harm people but to save them. Sum it up, the second this bill becomes law, the bill will be useless, and that is why you shouldn't vote for Bill 4006. That's all.
Thank you, Representative Timothy. The sponsors may now present their rebuttal arguments. The Speaker of the House will now recognize Representative Zale. You have the floor. Representative Zale? You
Sorry.
unmute your microphone. There you go. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So passing this bill would help authorities get to the scene of an emergency faster. This is because of several things. One, police wouldn't have to get a warrant, which can take up to 40 hours in a normal situation. Second, in some cases, time is of the essence. By passing this bill, the authorities could have the location of the cell phone more quickly. And even if the victim is not there, it could be a start to tracking them. Third, it would help first responders who are new to an area find the location of an emergency. The privacy issue is not as great of an issue as it may seem for several reasons. One, only a little information is given out. Two, the information given is current. The police do not get an ongoing report on the location of the phone. Three, the information has to be requested. It is not just given out. Also, a higher authority has to sign it off in order to not be required to obtain a warrant. Four, only a small part of authorities receive what little information is given out, not the entire government. Five, police officers do have to get a warrant for non-emergencies. Six, police officers who abuse the privilege of receiving this information can be charged with a minor misdemeanor. Consider that the inconvenience of being able to be tracked could be worth the benefit. Having the location of your phone could mean either the consequences are mitigated or they are eliminated. In addition, cell phone companies want to help, but civil liability is the problem. This bill would eliminate that liability. Finally, consider what you would want if you were in a situation that could be helped by this bill. After hearing these things, I urge my colleagues to pass this piece of legislation. Please remember to vote yes on bill number 4006. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Zale. The chair would like to recognize Representative Yao. You now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Some may say that this bill restricts citizens and wireless carriers' freedom of choice and their privacy. However, if you are abducted and were gone for a long time, the police could track your phone and possibly save your life instead of a long wait, maybe even days. Many other companies already help the law enforcement agencies in this manner. The wireless carrier must give the officer the last known location of the device. That is all the information they must give. Any officer who uses this bill inappropriately will have consequences. Should this bill be enacted, it could save hundreds of lives, including your own or your family members. So be sure to vote yay for Bill 4006, Cell Phones and Emergencies. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, I move the previous question.
Without objection, the previous question is ordered. The bill is now on third reading. We will now vote on the passage of this bill. Please indicate your vote on your screen. The clerk will give the count.
Madam Speaker, there are 13 yes votes, 13 no votes, and 2 abstentions.
Seeing that there is a tie, we will go ahead and re-vote, and those who have abstained will be required to vote in order to break the tie at this time. Please vote on your screen once that is up and indicate your vote. Again, all representatives and senators are required to vote so that we can break this tie. What an exciting time to be alive. The clerk will now give the count.
Madam Speaker, there are 12 yes votes, 15 no votes, and 1 abstention.
The bill receiving an insufficient number of votes is not passed.
Madam Speaker, I now move that we take up the next item, number 3 on the calendar. That is Senate Bill 991, right to try.
The clerk will read.
Senate Bill 991, a bill to authorize access to and use of experimental treatments for patients with a terminal illness. The people of the state of Michigan enact.
The bill is now open for debate. The sponsors of the bill may present their opening arguments. The Speaker of the House would like to recognize Representative Corin. You now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My name is Owen Corin, and I support Senate Bill number 991, the Right to Try Act. Senate Bill number 991 allows a patient to undergo treatment to possibly cure a terminal illness. A terminal illness is a disease that cannot be cured or reasonably treated and is reasonably expected to result in the death of the patient. Let's take Alzheimer's disease. This is a terminal illness. In 2018, 4,474 people died of Alzheimer's disease in Michigan. Imagine that a family member, or friend perhaps, is diagnosed with a terminal illness like Alzheimer's disease or cancer. Would you stand by and watch them die, or would you do something about it? Luckily, now you can. With this bill, it allows a patient to begin treatment that could cure them of this terrible illness. Thank you, members of the committee.
Thank you, Representative Cochran, thank you, Representative Corin. The Speaker would like to recognize Representative Cropsey. You now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. There are 2 things I would like to make clear about this bill. 1, who benefits, and 2, what are the benefits? The patient receiving experimental treatment benefits because there's a chance that a cure is found through the experimentation. But there is also the other side of this topic, one that we must discuss, even if it is disheartening. If the experimentation were to worsen the condition, the family of the patient wouldn't have to pay for any of the medication used in the treatment. So, to conclude, who benefits? The patient going through the experimental treatment benefits, and the family of the patient also benefit. What are the benefits? The patient has a chance to live, even though they have a terminal illness, and the family of the patient benefits by seeing their loved one have hope to live. I support Bill number 991, and I ask you to vote yay on this bill.
Thank you, Representative Cropsey. The Speaker will now recognize Representative Ulrich. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My honorable colleagues, I, Representative Oliver Ulrich, would like to state my supporting points for Senate Bill 991. This bill allows patients to choose what happens to them medically. Without this bill, many more innocent people would die because they would not have legal access to experimental treatments. Imagine if you, a family member, or a friend were diagnosed with a terminal illness. This bill would allow them to pick which treatment that they want. Even in the unlikely, horrible case of death, the family would be protected financially from the costs of the treatment. The bill has many precautions, which keeps the patient and their family safe from any legal turmoil. Based on all this persuasive testimony and evidence, I urge my esteemed colleagues to pass this desperately needed piece of legislation. Remember to vote yay on Senate Bill 991. Thank you for all your time.
Thank you, Representative Ulrich. The opposing caucus may now present their opposing arguments. The Speaker will recognize Representative Furness. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I am Representative Furness here to oppose Senate Bill 991, the right to try. First, I would just like to note that my colleagues and I are not opposed to the right to try in every situation. We just oppose this particular bill. To start, I would like to agree on one main point with my opponents. the use of non-FDA drugs is important. However, the right to try contains terrible policies and poorly emulates an already standing bill known as the Compassionate Youth Program. The right to try is a terrible bill for one main reason. It only covers the use of non-FDA approved drugs on terminal illnesses. This means it doesn't cover other diseases like chronic illnesses, which include many types of cancer, heart diseases, and diabetes. It cover acute diseases, which include pneumonia and acute myocardial infarction. These diseases and illnesses not covered by SB 991, SB 991 can easily kill a person, and doctors and patients alike should have the option to use non-FDA approved drugs in these situations. The Compassionate Youth Program, which I mentioned earlier, covers these diseases, and unfortunately, SB 991 would attempt to override this bill and force doctors to limit the sicknesses for when they are allowed to use non-FDA approved medications, even if their patient is dying. There is no reason why this bill should pass. It adds no beneficial material to the already standing bill and actually takes away from the Compassionate Youth Program, not only in the number of sicknesses doctors can attempt to save their patients' lives from, but also in the diminishing of liability on drug companies and doctors, as my colleague will elaborate on next. Because of the reasons I have laid before you today, I urge my fellow representatives to vote no on Senate Bill 991. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Furness. The chair will now recognize Representative Burns. You now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As Representative Furness already said, that and it is my opinion too that there's already a program that is called the Compassionate Youth Program that is already far superior to the Right to Try Act that is trying to be passed today. And I would like to please note that 6.1 million people in Michigan in 2015 had a chronic disease. 6.1 million. And if the Right to Try Act passes, every single one of them won't be able to have potentially increased standard of living. They might be bedridden, but they might not be considered terminally ill. So, but they would be able maybe possibly to walk or to see their family. And these are some of the problems that I have with this bill. Here's another problem. When comparing the Compassionate Youth Program to the Right to Try, this bill leaves a possibility for abuse. And how is that? Well, unfortunately, the Right to Try removes possible liability for drug companies when patients are harmed with phase 1 FDA drugs. That's basically a safeguard. So drug companies don't take advantage of the average person. And now what could happen if this liability is taken away? Well, drug companies could hurry through phase 1. And please note, these are very, very, very powerful drugs and need to be managed with the utmost care. And only 20 to 100 people are given this drug in phase 1 testing. So they need to pay the utmost attention to every single one of those people. And how many thousands of terminally ill patients would want to try this immediately? So they have to be very, very careful about how the process goes and to protect the patients, because I would ask, yes, that even though this has the right intent, unfortunately, we have already have programs in place for this. So I'd ask you, everyone here listening, to please vote no on the Right to Try Act. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Burns. The speaker will now recognize Representative Hagan. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Senate Bill 991 is a bill that I'm against. Let me ask you a question. Where do you draw the line? If we were to let this bill pass, yes, I will agree with you. It could save lives, but it could also destroy not only the lives of people who are involved, but it also could destroy the trust between a doctor and a patient. It also could cause other side effects to affect others that are not involved in the drugs. I believe that this bill can take away trust that we've created with our doctors and people in the FDA. And this could also lead to illegal drug abuse. Like my colleague said, Senate Bill 991 could override saving people that don't have terminal illnesses within the world. This could lead to more U.S. deaths. This could lead to more U.S. non-terminal deaths. Thank you. Please vote no.
Thank you, Representative Hagan. The sponsors may now present their rebuttal arguments. Speaker of the House will recognize Representative Pierce. You have the floor. Representative Pierce, you unmute your microphone.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. To improve the safety of the public, the drug being tested is deemed safe by the FDA. And the patient gave his or her consent to be tested on. And the FDA deeming a drug safe lowers the chance of a drug being dangerous towards this patient. The doctor should not be responsible as the patient gave consent to be tested on. And the drug company is not responsible for any damage on or a patient's death. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Pierce. The Speaker of the House will now recognize Representative Cropsey. You have the floor.
Thank you,
Representative Cropsey. Thank you.
Thank you. It would be necessary to remove the liability from doctors or manufacturers because if the patient has already given their written consent, they're fully responsible for any problems that may occur during the testing.
Thank you, Representative Cropsey. All right, do we have a motion?
Madam Speaker, I move the previous question.
Without objection, the previous question is ordered. The bill is now on a third reading. We will now vote on the passage of the bill. Please indicate your vote on the polling screen before you. The clerk will give the count.
Madam Speaker, there are 10 yes votes, 15 no votes, and 3 abstentions.
Thank you. The bill receiving an insufficient number of votes is not passed.
Madam Speaker, I move that the House will stand to recess at the call of the chair.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Thank you. Seeing that we have a second, we will go ahead and take a 5-minute recess. Please be back by 2:29 for our next session.
All right, we're on. You're going to notice that I am not Amy Chauvin, okay? We look different. So what that means is, for those of you who are going to do the next bills, if it's your turn to speak, instead of saying Madam Speaker, you're going to say Mr. Speaker, and that's me, okay? So make sure you do that as well. And we are going to continue on with the bills. And Mr. Floor Leader, is there a motion on the floor?
Mr. Speaker, I move that we take up the next item on the calendar, number 4. That is House Bill 4131, adoption by any country.
Okay, this is sponsored by the Adams Green Caucus, and the speakers will make their arguments. So we're going to have opening remarks from Representative Lori Scholl for 1 minute. Representative Scholl, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My caucus recommends to you Bill 4131, adoption by any couple. This bill would clarify the legal process of two unmarried people adopting a child or adult while both having authorized parental rights. Currently, two unmarried people cannot legally adopt. However, that closes many loving homes to needy children. Many organizations such as the American Pediatric Association and the American Academy of Family Physicians voted in support of this bill because children thrive in family units. Also, many families want to adopt, but are restricted by financial or health reasons. This bill would encourage kinship adoptions and provide the child with more stability while keeping the families together. So please vote in support of Bill 4131. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Also in support, we have Representative Joshua Belinsky for 2 minutes. Representative Belinsky, you have the floor, sir. Unmute yourself.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm here with my caucus, with my esteemed colleagues, to support House Bill number 4131. In Michigan, there are approximately 4,500 children qualified for adoption within the foster care system, with only 3,000, while only 3,000 are adopted annually. Data shows that after foster children reach the age of 9, their chances of being adopted decrease to 10%. By allowing this bill to pass, the availability of new homes for the adoption of foster children will increase. Providing homes for these children and a better life should ultimately be the #1 priority. Roughly 45% of foster children drop out of high school, and only 2% finish college. Every year, nearly 500 children age out of the foster care system, leaving them to fend for themselves. This bill will fix these issues by lowering the possibility of child poverty and homelessness. Another reason to support this bill is to help biological parents retain their parental rights. A single parent who is disabled or has a terminal illness can arrange an adoption with another person to adopt their child without having the parental rights terminated. Also, the state would not have custody over the child during this very difficult time, meaning the parents would keep their parental rights. Another positive outcome of this bill would be the savings of taxpayers. If more homes are provided for foster children, then the state would have money or would save money through fewer foster care subsidies and other expenses. If a child was adopted at age 6 or 7, for example, taxpayers would save more than $40,000 by the time the child becomes a legal adult, according to some.
Time has expired.
Based on this testimony and persuasive evidence I have given, I now urge my respected colleagues to pass this greatly needed piece of legislation. Please vote yes for House Bill number 4131. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Appreciate that. Okay, that's the sponsoring arguments. The opposing caucus, Adams, the other side can say their arguments. Representative Samuel Van Slyke will be first up.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am Representative Van Slyke, and I am opposing Bill HB 4131. Michigan's public policy has consistently sought to preserve married families and discourage unmarried family units, and for a good reason. Up to half of the higher risk for negative educational outcomes for children in single-parent families is due to living with a significantly reduced household income. One study found children living in single-parent homes were more likely to experience significant health problems, and unmarried families may not have the proper finances or resources to cope with the health problems. Research indicates that on average, children who grow up in families with both of their biological parents in a low conflict marriage are better off in a number of ways than children who grow up in single step or cohabiting parent households. Additionally, sharing custody between two unmarried parents would further disrupt a stable home environment because raising one child in two different households could result in very different upbringings. Because of these points, I urge everyone here to think of the children and vote no on HB 4131.
Thank you, Representative Van Slyke. Also in opposition, Representative Daniel Galapali.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Representative Galapali, and my caucus and I are completely against SB 4131, and we urge you to vote no. One of the major problems is the legal precedent and the fact that we need to redefine terms. What are the legal requirements to adopt? Why should two adults with no legal tie be allowed to raise a child together? What happens if the two separate and get married to other people? Would the two have four parents? How would the legal standing of two unmarried parents compare to two married parents who have been divorced? If this bill is passed, the legislation will have to create parents who were previously would not have been recognized as parents. Parents are defined as two people who have conceived a child or adopted one. Family is defined as individuals related by blood, marriage, or adoption. If this bill passes, it will take a massive step away from those definitions, resulting in confusion and instability in a child's life when what they most need is clarity and stability. My fellow representatives, please join me in voting no to SB 4131. This will protect children and prevent a new, harmful, and unknown legal process. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. We also have in opposition, Representative Ruth Yao.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am Representative Ruth Yao in opposition to the HB 4131 bill. The problem, as our opponents have stated, is that the foster care system is detrimental to the children in it. Their solution, however, fails to address the actual root of the problem and only results in creating a bigger mess. This bill requires of the state of Michigan to redefine family and parents, which completely undermines many of the laws Michigan has implemented, as well as threatens the traditional value of family, parents, and marriage. There is no doubt that the foster care system has many issues. As our opponents have already stated, there are many children who are stuck in terrible environments that often result in psychological trauma, such as the reactive attachment disorder, which results from being in an unstable environment and having no choice. However, this bill does not guarantee these children a safe situation. Under this bill, we are shoving these children into a new environment that has never been tested before. As my colleagues have stated, there is no legal precedent to this bill. Are you willing to sentence these children to act as your guinea pigs? As Representative Samuel Van Slyke has already stated, there are facts and studies that prove children do the best when cared for by their married biological parents. We have already failed these children so much. Are you willing to risk these kids even more? They deserve the best that we can afford, and that is in a family with the parents that are married. Marriage and family is a sacred thing. It's a union blessed by God, and there's a reason why the state of Michigan has worked so hard to preserve the traditional values of parents and family. Allowing children to be in a better environment and preserving the traditional God-given values of family are in no way mutually exclusive. We can work to do both. Our duty as representatives of the people of Michigan and the United States is to work to preserve the happiness and safety of the people. We must instead focus on reforming the foster care system. Let's face it, even if this bill passes, not every child is going to be adopted. It's a harsh reality that we face, so we should are we going to allow these children who don't find their forever homes to just rot and quite possibly in just a few years end up in prison? To us, it may just be a decision, but we're talking about entire lives. We, as people in power, must focus on protecting the vulnerable. Instead of passing a bill that undermines the traditional values of family and may result in further instability down the lines, we should focus on reformation of the foster care system so it is not as traumatic, or focus on reforming the adoption process. One of my classmates' families recently adopted a beautiful little boy. They had worked for many years in the process of adoption and only just recently was able to bring him back, and he is now in a loving environment in a traditional family. Did you know that the average adoption costs about $30,000? Why not fix the adoption process instead of creating a short-term solution that has never been tested before? In light of all this, and in order to not compromise the safety and stability of these children this bill affects, I urge my esteemed colleagues to defeat this unworthy piece of legislation. Remember to vote no on Bill HB 4131. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Representative. Now we have rebuttal arguments from the sponsoring caucus. We'll hear first from the other side, Representative Tina Chow. You're up. You have the microphone. Thank you.
Oh, just a moment. Pardon. All right, sorry about that. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My caucus and I are here to support Bill 4131. Though a married couple would be ideal, our current foster system is lacking, as we've said. Each year, approximately 20,000 children age out of foster care in America when they turn 18, 21, or age out of high school. Sent out into the world on their own, no family or home, oftentimes with PTSD or reactive attachment disorder from being thrown between 5 to maybe 15 families as they grow up. Only 2% graduate college, and many become homeless, uneducated, unemployed. We cannot afford to look for perfect ideals in this situation. While there may not be a marriage, the traditional concept of marriage and family the world has tried to keep has long since eroded from undivorced heterosexual couples. Our state alone has 56,000 married couples and 29,000 divorced. Adoptive parents are also proven to be better parents than biological parents whose rights have been terminated. I'd also like to state a new system will always have uncertainties and require new rules, but anything new brings uncertainty. This should not deter us from passing the bill, because how else will we ever fix the system without trying something new if what we've been doing isn't enough? Please join me in support of Bill 4131. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Also in rebuttal will be Representative Christian Kupchak. Representative Kupchak, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Me and my caucus members are here to support Bill HB 4131. This bill will fix the foster care system, giving kids love and support greater than any foster home ever can, even if the couple is unmarried. There's a lot of support that can come from both parents, such as healthcare and financial support. Instead of having one adoptive parent, you can have another to care for the child. If you were to say that one parent adopted one child and got fatally wounded, the person would go back in the foster care system in a terrible environment. But having a second parent just makes a world of possibilities. And doing this all in all will increase adoptions tenfold. I know that unmarried couples have statistically shown not to care for a child as good as a married couple, but having a home with two parents is far better than not having a home at all. Family has been changing for years. This is no new issue. Although it is something that is wanted to be preserved, it simply isn't reasonable beyond this point. Think from the kid's perspective. What would you want? Would you like to be tossed around in the foster care system, feeling depressed and unwanted? Or to find a home, even if it means your parents aren't married? Please vote yes to Bill HB 4131. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Representative. Seeing no more debate, is there a motion on the floor?
Mr. Speaker, I move the previous question.
Okay, once again, the previous question is ordered, and that means this bill will now come to a vote. Those in favor of House Bill 4131, please indicate that on your screen. And those opposed, please indicate that on your screen. And the option to abstain is also there, but that should be rare, okay? You should only abstain if you just cannot make up your mind. So please give all the votes, and then we will report the totals. Okay, the clerk will now give the count.
Mr. Speaker, there are 9 yes votes, 17 no votes, and 2 abstentions.
9 yes votes and 17 no votes and 2 abstentions. That means the bill, having received an insufficient number of votes, is not passed. Good debate, though, guys. Thank you. Very good. All right, we're going to continue on. We're making our way through. Mr. Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we now take up item number 5 on the House calendar. That is House Bill 4162, prohibit bullying in schools.
Okay, clerk will read.
HB 4162, a bill to amend 1976 PA 451, entitled the Revised School Code, the people of the state of Michigan enact.
Okay, this is about bullying in schools. And we have the sponsoring caucus, Jefferson Green. We'll have first up is Representative Armstrong. Representative Armstrong, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am Representative Armstrong, and I am in support of legislation number 4162, prohibiting bullying in school environments. Bullying is an apparent problem in schools across the United States. It's often downplayed by society, but in retrospect, can be extremely harmful to the victims. There are many cases where bullying can go unnoticed and thus can continue without consequences. Threats made by bullies may lead to victims not standing up for themselves or for bystanders to not step in to intervene because they may even feel threatened. As students get older and advance through school, the ratio of students per teacher rises, which can lead to even more chances of bullying. And being more aware, it's up to us to find a way to address this issue. This legislation will require school officials to work more efficiently with parents and law enforcement to implement policies in school environments that will work against bullying. For this reason, I urge all of you to vote for this legislation. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Following Representative Armstrong will be Representative Byram.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm speaking in support of House Bill 4162 to prohibit bullying. The majority of schools, when bullying occurs, don't do anything about it. Kids are being abused verbally, physically, and mentally every day. Most kids are feeling hopeless, thinking of suicide. People start to notice that they are acting more differently than normal, such as always seeming sad or anxious, struggling to complete tasks, or not being able to care for themselves. Most parents will bring their kids to a counselor or other mental health service to try and figure out what is wrong with their child, when the problem is because of bullying. Only 7% of U.S. parents are worried about bullying. Kids who are obese, gay, or have disabilities are up to 63% more likely to be bullied than other children. Because of bullying, suicide rates among 10 to 14-year-olds have grown more than 50% over the last 3 decades. Our bill 4162 is here to prevent bullying by forcing people to take action and stop this unnecessary problem. It will force parents and personal guardians to deal with the problem instead of kids bullying kids to feel better about themselves in the moment. Our bill will help with a lot of the education of kids. Most kids by the age of 10 start to fail classes due to the problem of bullying. If our teachers and parents were to stand up and do something about the personal children, the percentage of self-esteem, bad grade point averages, and suicidal thoughts, etc., would change greatly. A past incident took place in 2002, a problem that forced authorities to reanalyze about bullying. A young freshman from East Lansing, Michigan, who had killed himself after being bullied by upperclassmen. This is a young individual just like you or I, being bullied simply for no reason. This could have been one of us, one of your children. This bill will require all schools to have an anti-bullying policy. School administrations can't say it's up to the parents. Parents can't say it's up to the teachers. Teachers can't say it's not their jobs. And kids can't say I was too afraid to tell. Every single one of us has to play a role if we're serious about putting an end to the madness. We are all responsible. We must be. You can help to prevent the mental and physical abuse and possible suicide of children by voting yes to prohibit bullying. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative. We also now have the opposing arguments. Representative Abby Yao will go first. You would have the floor, Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Bullying is a big problem that needs to be addressed, but this bill would not be effective in solving this issue. The bill does not state a specific consequence for bullies that could be caught. Therefore, some schools could let students get away with bullying if the board does not carry out the bill to its full potential. Some teachers also may not follow through on their job, even if the bill states it. A frequent form of bullying these past 2 decades is cyberbullying. Pew Research Center conducted a survey on September 27, 2018 that is posted on enough.org. It says 59% of U.S. teens have been bullied or harassed online, and a similar share says it's a major problem for people their age. Although cyberbullying needs to stop, Bill 4162 will not make any change. For example, if the victim is in Michigan but the bully is out of state, the jurisdiction in which this bill is placed under is not capable of doing anything. In the bill, it states that the reporting of harassment or bullying is only on school grounds or school vehicles. However, what is to stop bullies from harassing other kids and students after school? This bill also mandates a reporting system. However, if the victims or bystanders never report it, that defeats the point. Many students might feel peer pressure from the other kids around them, or they're afraid to be called a snitch. They just want a sense of belonging around their classmates, so they won't report it. Most often, bullies pick on others who are vulnerable because they are insecure and have the need to take out their frustration or issues on them. things that causes insecurity is mainly their environment they grew up in. For example, if they're in a toxic relationship, they have traumatic, angry, or sad experiences, or even if their parents are having a negative impact on them. So even if this bill theoretically stops bullying in school, there is no stopping the problem that causes some bullies to do what they do. Based on all these points I've stated, the bill would not be effective to prohibit bullying. I urge you fellow representatives to vote for nay on Bill 4162. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Appreciate those remarks. Representative Carter Zale is next up. Representative Zale, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill does not deal with the root issue. It seems to be going for outward behavior. Passing and enforcing this bill may make students do several things. For one, it may make them harbor resentment towards authority. And once they get out of high school, what will they do? It's possible that they will start bullying. What would we do in that type of situation? We could certainly be guilty of the same type of behavior. Two, it may make them cleverer and more secretive, which can make it harder to discern whether or not an event of bullying really happened. Three, bullies may threaten those that they're bullying more because the consequences can be more severe and may be enforced better, and so they don't want to be caught. It has been made clear that bullying hurts both the bullies and those who are bullied. My suggestion is that this bill should allow for more emotional outlets for those who need them, which can help people of both sides. After hearing these things, I urge my colleagues to defeat this piece of legislation. Please remember to vote no on Bill number 4162. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Representative. Also in opposition will be speaking Representative Nadia Johnson. Representative Johnson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also am in opposition of this bill. I would like to state that this bill is simply problematic due to the fact that it lacks in clarity and continually needs amendments. First, the bill does not show the deserving consequences that come with these actions that are listed and labeled as bullying or harassment. The bill also fails to show how schools should properly enforce and encourage policy, leaving it open to interpretation, which could lead to ineffectiveness. With that, policies can easily be abused by both the staff and the students. The bill requires teachers to respond immediately after receiving reports of harassment on school campus. But the question is, what if bullying is unwitnessed? What if that specific action goes unwitnessed? What if the report of bullying from a student is just an exaggeration or a lie, used as a ploy to get an aggravating classmate in trouble? And what stops the teacher from having a bias in a two-sided report? Would it then be up to the teacher to carry out this punishment? These are some questions that need to be asked and answered before carrying out some of the things in this bill as a state mandate, leading to why you should vote nay to bill number HB 4162. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Okay, the sponsors now get their time to give rebuttal arguments. Starting off will be Representative Ben Keller. Representative Keller, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Peyton James was born premature. Because of this, he was often bullied because of his small size. Throughout elementary and middle school, eventually, it became too much and he killed himself. And kids throughout school are bullied, just like Peyton. And this will always affect their mental health and even their physical health. And bullying not only affects the victim, but also the bully and the people who witness kids who are being bullied. This bullying needs to be stopped. It's wrong that a kid must go to school with the fear that he might be bullied. This bill will help these kids so that they will get the education that they deserve. With this system, we will be able to help the victim and the bystanders. The victim will benefit by no longer being bullied and by not having to live in fear of being bullied. The bystanders will be able to better their education due to less interruptions in class because of these rules. The only thing that this bill requires is to have an anti-bullying policy set up. For these reasons, I urge you to vote yes for House Bill 4162.
Thank you, Representative. And just by way of clarification, the speaker made a mistake. That's me. I didn't recognize Representative Simmerer for his remarks in support. So I'm going to do that now, and we'll come back to Representative Timothy for rebuttal. So Representative Simmerer, you have the floor in support.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm speaking against House Bill number 4162.
You're in opposition. My bad. Thank you.
I'm in opposition, right? As my colleagues before me have already stated, this bill will not be effective. Not only will it not fix the problem, it has a constitutional fault in it. In the Michigan Constitution, Article 9, Section 29, it says, a new activity or service or an increase in the level of any activity or service beyond that required by existing law shall not be required by the legislature or any state agency of units of local government unless a state appropriation is made and dispersed to pay the unit of local government for any necessary increased costs. This means that a bill cannot be made law without money being allotted to cover the costs that it would require. There is no money given to the schools in this bill. Therefore, by Michigan law, this bill is illegal. Representatives, I strongly urge you to vote no on House Bill number 4162. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Representative Simmerer, and my apologies. We'll now continue with rebuttal arguments from the sponsors. Representative Ethan Timothy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm in agreement with Bill 4162 to prevent bullying and harassment in schools. Fellow representatives and senators, now you may be thinking, how will this bill help? Don't most schools already have policies or rules in place against bullying? Well, our bill not only requires schools who don't have policies in place to make one, but it also creates a system that will allow any incidents of bullying will be reported to a designated official appointed by the principal, and any reported case will be investigated no later than 3 days. The policy made will be created with law officials, guardians, and school staff so that schools can custom their policy depending on the sorts of bullying going on in that school. This is why you should vote yes for Bill 4162.
All right. Thank you, Representative. Having heard all the arguments and seeing there's no more debate, Mr. Floor Leader, is there a motion on the floor?
Mr. Speaker, I move the previous question.
Okay, once again, the previous question is now ordered. And we're going to bring this issue to a vote, whether we should pass House Bill 4162, dealing with bullying. So the poll will come up on your screen. Vote either yay or nay or abstain, and abstain should be rare. So please cast your vote now, and we'll wait for the tally so the clerk can give the count. Okay, Madam Clerk, please give the count.
Mr. Speaker, there are 17 yes votes, 8 no votes, and 3 abstentions.
Okay, that's 17 yes, 8 no, and 3 abstentions, meaning the bill has received a sufficient number of votes and is passed. You can give yourselves a hand clap for a good debate, although no one can hear it. All right, that's fine. All right, we're going to move on to our final bill for the afternoon. Mr. Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we take up item number 6 on the House calendar. That is Senate Bill 98, wrongful imprisonment compensation.
All righty, we're going to take up the final bill, Senate Bill 98, and we have the sponsoring caucus, Washington Green. And up first in support is Representative Burns.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My colleagues and I are here to support Bill 98, the Wrongful Imprisonment Compensation Act. The Bible says in Romans 3:23 that we've all fallen short of the glory of God. I think we can all acknowledge that we all as imperfect beings make mistakes daily, and we do it against our benefit and against other people. And so it makes sense that even though we have a very stringent court system, mistakes happen, and people unfortunately get incarcerated wrongly. But I also like to think of, as Martin Luther King says about this, not necessarily this topic, but very applies, is that there's a check waiting that was left by the founding fathers to be cashed. The check for justice. And this check is simply not an analogy. This is a real check to compensate for those wrongly incarcerated, transition them back into society, to help reunite them with their family, and gain another and new pop and positive place in society again, and to furthermore and mostly to bring justice. So I'd like you to thank you for listening, and I would ask all of you to vote yes on Bill 98, the Wrongful Imprisonment Compensation Act.
Thank you, Representative. Also in support is Representative Hagan. Representative Hagan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Me and my colleagues, we believe that we need this bill to ensure that the plaintiffs that are being affected by the wrongfully imprisonment, they need compensation. Let me tell you a story. In 2004, Florida man Wilton Deege was wrongfully imprisoned for 22 years and set free. He did not gain compensation. He was 4 years later, he ended up, after many trials, he ended up getting a private bill. So that if this bill was in place, it wouldn't have taken so long. I believe that there is simply no question that an innocent person has his or her life stripped down from their life, only to endure the horror of prison. Justice demands that the plaintiff get compensation and promptly provide justice and restoration for the wrongfully convicted through a standard navigatable process. Vote yes for Senate Bill 98.
Thank you, Representative. And finally, in support will be Representative Furness. Representative Furness.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm Representative Furness here in support of Senate Bill 98, Wrongful Imprisonment Compensation Act. As my colleagues have mentioned earlier, this bill is vital to our community and must be passed as soon as possible to ensure victims of wrongful imprisonment get what they deserve after the hardships they have endured in prison. This bill assures that we as a society will not let those who have suffered down. For justice and for mercy, I ask today that you vote yes on Senate Bill 98. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Okay, as always, we have the opposition wishing to speak. First up on that will be Representative Cropsey. Representative Cropsey, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to make something very clear about this bill, even though it is already easy to understand. This bill requires the court to award compensation to the plaintiff that was wrongfully incarcerated, which would benefit the plaintiff, his or her family, and their economic health. However, I would urge you to realize the flaw in this bill. This bill is admittedly a simple bill, but someone could use this for his or her own personal gain. If I were to be wrongfully incarcerated and put in jail for a long period of time, and my sister bought anything she wanted out of my bank account, she would have just taken advantage of this bill. Then imagine that a new piece of evidence is found on my case, and I'm discovered to be innocent. The compensation for everything my sister bought out of my bank account would count everything as free because the state would be paying for her reckless shopping. People can use this bill to get things that they want and receive money that they really don't need. The bill ensures that the compensation money will only be rewarded to a plaintiff that was, without a doubt, wrongfully convicted of a crime he or she didn't do. But the compensation money goes to my bank account, and I don't lose any money from what my sister has bought. Now, how do we honestly expect this bill to pass if there is a problem like this? I am in opposition of this bill, and I encourage you to vote nay to this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Also in opposition would be Representative Corrin. Representative Corrin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Owen Corrin, and I oppose Senate Bill number 98, the Wrongful Imprisonment Compensation Act. As my colleague, Elijah Cropsey, has already spoken to you, this bill could be used by anyone for their own personal gain. Now, if it pleases the members of the committee, I would like to argue the second point of my opposition to Senate Bill number 98. The bill requires that the state would have to make their own compensation budget from their own funds. Now, currently, we don't have a compensation budget in Michigan. So, without a compensation budget, where would these funds come from? The answer is clear. the money would come from the budgets for our roads, our repairs, our healthcare, our citizens of Michigan. In my opinion, these things are far too much important to drain money from other budgets. I urge you, the members of the committee, and everyone here today, to vote nay on Senate Bill number 98. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Representative. Okay, also in opposition, we have Representative Ulrich.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Hello, my honorable colleagues. I, Representative Oliver Ulrich, oppose Senate Bill 98. This bill has many errors in how it handles compensation for the plaintiff. As Representative Corrin previously stated, the Michigan government needs a budget for the compensation of the plaintiff. Despite the fact that the Michigan government needs a budget, the max amount of $60,000 given to the plaintiff is not nearly enough for wrongful incarceration. Would you be incarcerated for a whole year, day and night in prison for the little amount of $60,000 or less? I would think not, because that is only the average Michigan salary. A person wrongfully incarcerated should be given a greatly increased amount, way more than the max of $60,000. I and my colleagues wish to raise this amount exponentially and make the amount of $60,000 a base, not a max. And now I yield to my colleague, Representative Pierce.
Thank you, Representative. And yes, Representative Pierce is next on the docket. Representative Pierce, you have the floor. Maybe unmute, I don't know.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay.
I, Representative Pierce from Caucus Washington Blue, based on the evidence my colleagues have presented to you, I urge you to vote in the opposition of Bill 98, as it's uncompleted. People may use this to their personal gain to obtain money, and there is no budget, so the amount of money could be in at least $1 million. In conclusion, vote nay on Bill 98. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Representative. Okay, seeing no more opposition at this point, the sponsors can do rebuttal arguments. In rebuttal will be Representative Furness. You're up first.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First, I would like to address the first argument. What are you going to do with the 95% of cases where there is no personal gain being used? Are you just going to let the prisoners off the hook and give them nothing and return to their ruined lives? I think not. Secondly, according to Detroit News, there's only 14 exonerations last year. Assuming they were all in prison for 10 years, that is only $8.5 million. For a state that spends on average $56.8 billion with a B dollars per year, I think we can afford to support the lives and families we have destroyed unjustly. Lastly, we need to pass this bill now and then make small changes if necessary. But stopping this bill and waiting up to a year for the new one could leave victims of wrongful imprisonment with nothing. The only thing available right now is a lawsuit. And I've seen too many cases where lawsuits fall through and the victims get nothing and return to their ruined lives. That is just straight up unacceptable. Innocent prisoners cannot return to their wrecked lives with nothing. We need to pass this bill now. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. And also in rebuttal will be Representative Burns.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. I'd like to address Representative Cochran's objection to this bill. And he said that, to summarize, that where would the money come from? And that will, in effect, take away. But I would like to say, for the sake of mercy, I would take money away from the roads for justice. For justice, for justice, for justice. There are people whose lives have been lost. They have not been able to see their daughter. They have not been able to be with their wife. Just for the sake of taking money and making a budget, I would never, in my own opinion, I would say it was completely worth it. Completely worth it. everything that is worth it in life is hard. And I'm not saying it would be easy, but I would say for the sake of justice, we need to do this. So I would ask all of you, vote yes, vote for justice, vote for Bill 98.
Thank you, Representative. Okay, I believe that's it. No more debate on this topic. Mr. Floor Leader, is there a motion on the floor?
Mr. Speaker, I move the previous question.
Okay, once again, the previous question is now ordered, means we're going to bring this issue to a vote. The tally sheet is on your screens. Please vote yay if you're in favor, nay if you're opposed. And you can abstain if you just can't make up your mind. Okay, the clerk will now give the count, please.
Mr. Speaker, there are 18 yes votes, 7 no votes, and 3 abstentions.
Okay, let me write that down. 18 in, say it again, 18 in support?
18 yes votes, 7 no votes, 3 abstentions.
And 3 abstentions. The bill, receiving a sufficient number of votes, is passed. All right, very, very good. Okay, so what we're going to do now is just for a minute. I don't know if your parents are watching and all you kids watching, but we're going to do this all together. And we're going to say a big congratulations and thank you for a job well done to all the students who participated and who gave their speeches and did a great job. So we're going to clap here. Yeah, all right. Well done, everyone. Okay, and we even finished a few minutes early, so that's good. Amy is smiling about that, and so am I. We're going to just make a few remarks before we adjourn. We are going to do an adjournment in a minute, so get ready for that. You can't stop a legislative session without having an official motion to adjourn. But so I want to welcome all the parents and the family members who are joining us.
Lead Elite is not here yet.
And the lead elite is not here yet. So what do we do with that?
Can we adjourn the session and then go into the evaluation forms?
Okay. All right. We'll keep the session. Okay. All right. We'll adjourn the session, but I don't want anybody to go anywhere until we get the lead elite over here from their session, and then we'll move into the little closing remarks that we want to give. Amy just said that one thing we can do is do the evaluation forms. So first of all, before we do that, I need a motion from somebody on the floor to adjourn. Is there a motion? I can't see anybody's. Somebody needs to say that. Okay.
I move to adjourn.
All right. There is a motion to adjourn. Is there a second to that motion?
I second that.
Second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. We get a whole bunch of that. Okay, that works. All right. Is there any discussion on the motion to adjourn? Good. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor of adjourning will say so by raising your right hand. Need to put this on gallery mode here. I want to see your right hands. Zeke is fixing it. I want to see the whites of your eyes. Okay, there we go. All right, that's all of you. All of you opposed to adjourning, raise your other right hand. All right, so the ayes have it and we are adjourned. Okay. So, Amy, you want to come and tell them about the evaluations?
Yes. So I'm gonna
there we
get
go.
that out of your way. On Moodle, at the very top of your course page, at top of House, top of Senate, there is a post-week section that says Week 1 evaluation forms. Go ahead and go there and start filling out your form. Legally, it should be done in a few minutes. So use that time to fill out your evaluation form. If you don't finish by the time that we Lead Elite gets back and we start going, then just finish it up after the last few announcements.
Okay, so we'll just hang out here for a few minutes. You guys click on that link, go in there, figure it out. Don't turn off your cameras. Don't go anywhere. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. All right, everybody. So I hope all the Lead Elite people are in there. I heard they had a great legislative session as well. For all you House and Senate members and all the Lead Elite people, we want to say again, big congratulations to you guys. Just a few closing remarks. We do have a lot of other programs that go on throughout the year. We have our big banquet. We have our Ambassador League. We have other things that we do. We have on-site programs around the state. But we talk to the students and want to welcome all the parents and all the grandparents and anybody else who's watching this live. I think there's some Wisconsin people on there. Thank you guys. We have had a great week this week. And the students, you know, the message hasn't been politics, even though they've learned a lot about it. The message has been, you are created by God for this moment in history, for this time in this place. He's put a purpose in you, and your job is to discover how to be and live as an ambassador for Jesus Christ in the world, representing him. As a lawmaker, you represent people, but as a Christian, we represent Christ. And so that's our message this week, and we've been really focusing on that. And our whole worldview sessions has been focused on that. But kids, you students, you need to realize that doing what you've done this week, especially the first year students, you know more about basic, political process that happens in our country than almost anybody else out there, because you've actually done it. Even though it's been remote and we didn't get a chance to be together, it is a great experience. So I want to thank you guys for all the work that you did. And by the way, the laws that you passed or didn't pass today would have affected 10 million people who live in the state of Michigan. So that's a big deal. And so you are no longer a teenager. You are a leader. You are someone who is bringing a lot of thought and ideas and energy into your world. So congratulations for that. All right. So we do have our Ambassador League. Amy talked about that to the students earlier, but for the parents, it's a one-year practicum that takes the principles and the ideas that we learned here at Lead and puts them into practice through a whole bunch of hands-on leadership experiences. And I know some of you young people, this is just the thing would take you to the next level in your own life and in your own leadership skills. So I hope that you guys will consider signing up for that. It's a year-long experience. You get to gain all kinds of understanding, study the word, read books, interview leaders, observe local citizenship activities that are going on in your area. And hopefully it would be a great experience for you. So if you have interest in that, that's on our website, and go into our Ambassador League tab and you can find that. In addition to that, if anybody's interested in an internship, we have that every year. We allow students to come and work for a short period of time or a long period of time. You can work in the mornings or in the afternoons or an hour a week, or, you could give a whole year. So please think about that. Maybe that's something that God would open up the window of opportunity for that for you guys in the future as well. And here's the big news. We are going to do Lead 2 more times this summer. We have July 13 through 17 and July 27 through 31. So anyone who participated this week, you can do a more advanced track in weeks 2 or weeks 3. You can invite your friends and bring them on and then have a week-long battle with your, friends. You can even invite your enemies if you want. But it's going to be online, costs $100, and you can repeat. If you did the house this time and you're an upper class student, you could go right to the Lead Elite program, which is a whole lot more interactive and a whole lot more high level. If you're a house member, you can go back and be a senator. If you're a senator this time, you can come back and do the Lead Elite as well. So just want to invite you guys to consider about that. All the information's on our website at ssionline.org. In addition to that, next summer, and this is, man, we're so sad we didn't get a chance to do all this year, but we'll have more than the House and more than the Senate and more, and we don't even have a Lead Elite in the summer. We just have other advanced tracks. So the Senate, obviously, you get to add amendments. You guys have done that, and be a reporter on the media track, which is awesome. And you get to help lead the Final Four sessions. We have the media tracks, both a newspaper and a broadcast. We have our judicial tracks. You can be a lawyer, try a case. You can argue before the Supreme Court justices. Huge opportunity, a great learning experience. And then we have our campaign track, week 3, normally, which you run a campaign for governor. And you try to get everybody else in the camp to vote for your candidate. And we have a debate on Wednesday. We have television commercials, fundraising, door-to-door, all kinds of things that you get a chance to do as learning how to manage a campaign. And then we have our business track, week 1. That's where you manage a $40 million company over 8 years of business, and you learn what it's like to be a manager. And it's a great experience for any person. And whether you're going to be a business owner or whether you're going to be an employee, this teaches you how to think about the process of business in the world. We also travel the state, any of your churches, any of your schools, any of your homeschool groups. We have presentations that we make. Both myself and Joe can come do that. Amy could come do that as well. We just like to, there's a section on our website for presentations if you're interested in that. And we're very excited this summer, at the end of this summer in September, we're going to have Dr. Alveda King as our annual banquet speaker. We're very excited about that. The plans are underway right now and we're promoting it. And so all that information is on our website as well. You can get individual tickets. You can buy tables there. You can underwrite. And this is for the parents. Maybe your church would like to bring some folks. Maybe your business would like to get a table, or you yourself could bring some friends and introduce them to this amazing ministry of Student Statesmanship Institute. And we're very excited this year to have Dr. Alveda King, great, great, great woman of God that I'm excited about having her this year. Also, you can follow us online. You can join our Facebook page, which is shown right there. Just type in Student Statesmanship Institute. There's also I think there's a Wisconsin Facebook page, there's an Iowa Facebook page, and there's also a Minnesota Facebook page that you can find as well, because we're in 4 different states. And there's also an alumni page, and all of you can go to this one, Student Statesmanship Institute, parentheses, SSI alumni. Go to that one, and that will keep you into the same world as all the alumni who have gone before you that are part of that as well. And then I've heard our Instagram account is very, very popular. So we're at SSI Michigan on Instagram. So please feel free to join us on all those platforms. And that way you'll be able to keep up with us and all that's going on throughout the year. And also, we can't do this. Every year we have so many volunteers and so many people who have helped us, from the people who serve as coaches and teachers, from all the lobbyists and the chairs who participated in the Wednesday committee hearings. But even above that, we have all of our ADCs, our aides de camp, who help us and help the kids walk through all the process this week. And we also have our staff. So I brought everybody up on the second floor. Come on in, everybody. You're going to stand behind me. Here's Amy. Obviously, she gets a round of applause for how awesome she is. I'm going to just read all of our names of our staff and all of our crew, because I want everybody, you guys got to bunch in. Everybody's got to bunch in, bunch in, bunch in. Go behind me all the way across. We have Adam, Chris, Jer, Katja, Leslie, Lydia, Rebecca, Shirley from Wisconsin. Where is Shirley? She's here. All right. How did you get up here with that? All right. She's got a bad ankle, but she's doing really well. Going back to Wisconsin and going to run this live next year. Our staff is Joe Cecil, Amy Chauvin, Emily, who was our clerk, Zeke Talmadge, who was behind the camera the whole time, but there he is in his white jacket. He looks better than us all. Okay, and then we have Caleb and Emma as well, who've spent the whole summer with us putting this thing on. So you guys should give all those guys a hand clap for the great work that we've done this year. And as we close, I just want to give the final charge to the students. God brought you here this week, even though it's been less than what we hoped. We know that God brought you here, and we know that there are things that God spoke to your heart and God challenged you with from his word, from our special speakers, from the prayers, from the devotions, from the all the things that have gone on. And I just want to encourage you to take all of that in, and don't walk away from this and say, okay, I'm done with that. Because the things that you've learned this week are life-building, life-altering, foundational principles that will carry over into every other area of your life. So we're going to close now. I'm going to pray for you. And I want everybody to bow their heads, and let's just offer up this week to the Lord. Father, I thank you for the blessings that you've given us, for the technology that's worked. Father, for all the staff and the volunteers who have given their time and their talent and their resources. Thank you for every parent and grandparent and sibling, Lord, that helped make this possible and have raised these young people, Father, in the Lord. And I pray for every student, Lord, from the youngest to the oldest, God, that what you have imparted to them this week, what you have implanted in their lives, God, would be like a seed. and that seed would grow, and that seed would expand, and that seed, Father, would be like foundations that would be able to build lives upon, Father. Just open up their eyes to your purpose and your destiny. Pour out your passion for Christ and your passion and your love for their neighbor, love for God and love for neighbor, Lord. And I just pray, Father, that you'll strengthen and empower them, most of all, to be your ambassadors in this world, your representatives, Lord, who shine for Christ in every aspect of their world and every aspect of our world, Lord. We're so blessed and so thankful that we've had this time together in Jesus' name. And everyone said,
Amen.
Amen. All right. So, Amy, you want to give the instructions?
Okay. Lead Elite, because you didn't hear this, you need to fill out your evaluation form. It should be at the top of your course. If it's not, it's at the very bottom. So make sure you fill out your evaluation form. The rest of you guys, the hangar's going to be open. If you want to come say goodbye to your caucus members, change your name so that your caucus initials are at the very beginning of your name, and we'll put you in the breakout room so you can say goodbye. Otherwise, it's been amazing, guys. We'll see you, Lord willing, next summer, or maybe in the next couple weeks this summer.
All right. Bless you guys.
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
I'll jump in here 20-minute goodbye.
Hi, Dad.
Live from Lansing, Michigan.
Peace out.
Hi. Bye.
See you in the hangar. Bye.
Do you see crop? Crop C.